Hi, this is Professor Howard, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to extract census data from the NHGIS website, and this will be historic federal census data. Then we're going to download that data, extract it to a project file, and upload it into QGIS, the QGIS open source mapping software, so that we can make some maps. So let's go ahead and get started. When you visit the NHGIS.org site, you can extract your own data quite easily by creating an account. This is a free account, and you simply log in to that account, and then you will find yourself at this data finder screen. For our class, I'm available to help you by extracting that data on your behalf for your final project, but if you'd like to go ahead and extract your own data, you're welcome to do so. So I'll show you briefly here how to do that. We want to use these green options on the left to select the census data in which we are interested. The Years button shows us the different census years that we can choose from. Remember, the census was carried out every 10 years since 1790, but of course the questions change and the boundaries of the different regions that were surveyed will change dramatically. For our purposes, we can try 1940 and say Submit. Next, you'll want to choose a topic. For our class, we're doing a lot of work with race and racial displacement, but you might also want to look at housing conditions, income levels, ages, whatever else is available in that census. So you see here that certain of the fields are grayed out. That means that they're not available for this particular census. I will choose under Table Topics, Race, and click Submit. Now we also have to choose a geographic level. We can see that here. There's national, state, county, or census tract. For later census years, we might be able to use block group or even block. Those are very exciting to have that kind of granular level data. But for what we're doing here, we should be able to use census tracts for the 1940 census. And we'll say Submit. Now we also have to choose our tables themselves. So here under Source Tables, I can choose Population by Race. This will let me do the calculations that I'm interested in. So these are our data sets that we're choosing from this bar. We also want to choose a shapefile. So here I'm going to go with the quite popular 1940 shapefile from the 2000 Tiger Line shapes. And say, if this looks good, we're going to go ahead. We've got two files in our little data cart, one source file, that'll be our CSV data table, and one GIS shapefile. This is perfect, so I'll say Continue. Continue again to the Review and Submit area. Here you want to choose your table structure. We want comma delimited. That's our CSV format. We also want to include an additional descriptive header row so that we know what it is that we downloaded. If you skip that part, they'll also give you a code book that downloads so that you can look up what the columns are, but it's easier if you just have it do it for you. I strongly suggest adding a note in the description field so that you'll remember later what it was that you extracted here. So for here, I could put 1940 census data on race and hit Submit. Now we are in the extracts history area that shows all the previous extracts I've pulled, and currently we just did extract number 12. You can see that it's in the queue. This will sometimes take up to, it might take a few hours, it could take a couple days, sometimes it only takes a couple of minutes for that data to be processed. You can see I can preview the code book now, and it's only been a few seconds. My GIS data, the shapefile, is ready for download. And now, when I refresh the screen again, the tabular data is already ready. So to download the data, you want to click on the tables and the GIS file. And those will go to your download area. On this computer, mine appear in the lower left-hand corner. They may appear wherever your download fields go. The next step is going to be to organize this data in some sort of meaningful way for you so that you can find it later. I suggest creating a project folder on your desktop. Here I have our 1940 project, keeping my project files all in one place. In here, I have moved versions of that downloaded file. There's the two separate zipped compressed folders, right? You should have the CSV folder and the shape folder. Once you download those, however, you also need to extract that data into the project folder. When you click on one of these options, you get the extract menu. Go ahead and extract those files. When you do that, I get two versions of these folders, right? The zipped versions down here and the unzipped up here with the open folder icon. Taking a few minutes to do this carefully will help ensure that the GIS software is able to access and use your data. You can also take a look at what it is you've downloaded. In this case, I would encourage you to look at the data itself inside the CSV folder, inside the tracked file. We can see what it is that we've downloaded. Now, I've already manipulated this version of the file, so I'd like to explain to you how and why I did that. When we look at the file, we can see that the first column, column A, is a GIS join field. This is the join match code. These numbers are going to be identical in both files, the shape file and the data file, so that this will help the software to put those fields together so that it knows which data goes with which shape field. We also have the year, the state, the county, various codes that are assigned to that, the number of the census tract. Most importantly for us, here they gave us the number of white residents and the number of non-white residents. This column, column M, was not there when I first downloaded this file. I added that file myself because when I looked at this data, I knew that what I wanted to make a map of was the percent of every census tract, what percent of those residents were non-white. So to do that, I created an equation, which you can do here in Excel. So this will be for, I'll show you here in column N, what I did in column M. Up here in the equation box, you want to always begin with the equal sign, and then you can choose the cells that contain the data you want to manipulate. So in this case, I wanted to know the number of non-white residents, which in this case is cell L3. So you simply click on that on the top of the fraction over the total residents. And for Excel, we want to go ahead and put that in parentheses. So that'll be the number of non-white plus the number of white residents, and then close the parentheses. So it comes out to equals L3 over inside parentheses L3 plus K3, and then you hit enter. When you do so, it calculates 0.0032. But that's not going to look very good on a map. So to do this, I then want it to appear as 0.32%. So we're going to go ahead and highlight that column, right-click on it, format the cells to percentage, and say OK. Now you can see we're going to get 0.32%, which is more attractive. I'm also going to want to make sure I carry that math down to the whole column. Typically, in a shorter Excel sheet, you would simply grab the box in the lower right-hand corner of the cell. There's that small square there. You would grab it and pull it all the way down the column. But because this is so many, we should use the shortcut of simply hovering our cursor over that square and double-clicking. Now it's done the math for us. We also want to be sure that we add those descriptive fields at the tops, particularly in row 1. So you want to add in non-white or some other indicator that you will recognize later when you open this data sheet in the GIS software, because this is the only column I want to map, so I'm going to need to choose it from a list, and it's easiest if it has a descriptive name that I remember that I created. I'm not going to save these changes because I already calculated that math before. But we can go ahead now and go into our software and make ourselves a map. So here we're using QGIS. You can download this for free off of the QGIS website using the desktop version. There are some that are more recent, some that are more stable and have been out for a while. I think I've opened it twice, so I'll just close one. I really only need one version of this open. Okay, now inside QGIS, we're going to open our two files. We're going to open our shape file and our data file. And you remember we talked about the fact that there are vector layers and raster layers. So you remember there's different types of layers. So you want to be attentive that you're following the tutorial steps clearly. So here, the first step, we want to create a vector layer. We're going to go ahead and use either, you can do it from the menus at the top, or you can use this first icon of a V. Add vector layer. And we want to use here the shape file that we downloaded, not the data file. So make sure you choose the one that is in the shape folder. As soon as you open it, you can see you have a map. It's an ugly little map of the United States, but this is the racial data that's available for our urban centers from 1940. We also want to, and I'm going to drag this over a bit so that we can see what's going on. We want to check the CRS layer for our shapefile. So if you right-click in your Layers panel on the shapefile, Set Layer CRS, you'll see this is the Coordinate Reference System Selector box. Typically, when you make a map, you're going to be choosing the WGS 84 option, but for the census data in the tutorials I've looked at, they seem to suggest the NAD 83 options. So you can go ahead and scroll through these. You can see these are the different projection systems we can choose from. And go ahead and choose any of the ones that is NAD 83 and say OK. Most important thing is that the coordinate system for your shapefile is the same as the one for your data file. Now we want to go ahead and add another layer. We're going to add our delimited text file by clicking on the icon that looks like an apostrophe or a comma. For the file name, you can go ahead and choose the CSV file that you downloaded. That would be the tracked file, not the shapefile. You're opening up the shapefile to connect it to the data file. So you're choosing the data file. Your file format should be CSV, and you want to choose the geometric definition here, no geometry, and say OK. Now we have two layers on our map, so we know that this is working. We want to go ahead and select the shapefile, and then right-click on it. When you right-click on the shapefile, it must be the shapefile, not the other file, choose Properties, and then Joins. When you're in the Joins area of the Layer Properties box, choose the green plus sign. Your join layer would be the data file, so that's what we want to see because we're joining the shapefile to the data file. The join field is GIS join, those unique census data codes, and then we click OK. We can apply that. And then we want to choose Style. Change single symbol to categorized. For the column, if you scroll down all the way, you'll see the different columns from your spreadsheet. Choose non-white, the one that I selected. Choose Apply. And then go ahead and click on Classify to populate the field. This is going to be 2,000 entries. That's fine. That's exactly what I want. Now, go ahead, apply it, and say OK. The last step, we're going to right-click on that file again, open up the Properties box, and this time we want to choose a logical color ramp because what it's opted for is completely random, and that's going to make a really hideous looking map. I like blues, but try another ramp that pleases you. Click Apply, and say OK. Now you've done it. You have created a map which shows racial demographics by census tract. So we can choose an area, zoom in, and the higher the percentage of non-white residents, the darker the blue will appear on this map. So in another tutorial, I will go ahead and show you how to format that for printing it out by saving it as a PDF file in a print composer. But basically, you can start working with this information here. I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial, and please feel free to ask me if you have any questions. Happy mapping!